Hi, everyone. Okay, so we're going to start off by doing some live readings.
Hi, everyone.
And okay, we're going to do this by first you adding your information. So I need your birth date and your birthplace and your birth time if you have it. So first of all, if there's anyone listening right now, this is my first time I'm doing it this way, I would like some feedback in the chat room that you can hear me. Okay, so I need your birthplace, and if you have the time, I wrote that wrong. All right, so let's take a look at first. I'm going to speak about messages, and I do have some specific messages, specifically. Hi, Andrea. Great, Andrea, you can tell me if you can hear me properly. I'm trying this out for the first time. Okay, thank you so much. She's my hero. Okay, so you're all my hero, but she's always there for me. I've got so many clients that have been there for me. So I've had a specific theme, and it's only Tuesday for this week. And that is about speaking your truth, sort of freedom of speech. And this is quite fitting, I think, for Andrea as well. So how difficult is it? How challenging is it for you to speak your truth? Okay, hi, Faze. How challenging is it for you to speak your truth? So first, we're going to go into an exercise. Okay, so now I want you to label it from 0 to 10. 10 being, it is so hard for me to speak my truth. And I'm not talking about speaking your truth when you're around other people who validate your truth, okay, who are at home with the sense of being and the sense of mind and spirit that you are at. That's easy, right? But how is it when you are speaking against others who are telling you that your truth is wrong? Right? Hi, Allison. How challenging is it when somebody or a system or a governing body is saying that you're wrong, incorrect, or they have an opposing opinion? All right. This may be, for instance, in our area, the schools have been shut down again, and parents are mad. They're angry. They're frustrated, right? And they're speaking their truth. We can't have this anymore. But there seems to be 4 different types of opinion here. There is the opinion that parents can't get sitters for the babies. They still got to work, right? There are parents that don't want to homeschool their children. There are parents that feel the children are suffering greatly from this. And then those are ones that are mad at either the teachers, the school boards, or the governing bodies. All right. And they're all arguing with each other. And they're the ones that are just say, shut up and put up and teach your kids at home. Okay. That's sort of the outside of the box paradigm. And they're all arguing with each other about who's right, who's wrong. And this is what I mean, right? Are you fighting really against, in these threads of keyboard warriors, are you really fighting against the person that you're arguing with in the thread of the conversation? Are you just letting out your own frustration and your ability to do that, even though there's a liability around that? Or are you just angry in general? And this is what I mean about speaking your truth. I have a client today who resembled very much a few other clients that I had, who come from an extremely oppressed childhood, and a couple of them an extremely oppressed system that they educated themselves into. and ended up doing this for a living, such as an example of a client of mine who's a clinical therapist who now is struggling because she's becoming much more awakened to alternative forms of therapy, that her hands are tied, shackled. She's not allowed to practice in her jurisdiction. And this is making it difficult. She feels like an imposter, right? Now, this again, speaking your truth. Speaking your truth, that this system doesn't resonate with her. So one of the examples that I use is someone that's very not dear to me personally, because I don't know him personally, but his work is dear to me personally, and that's Gabor Mate. I've admittedly have not heard a lot of his books, but I watch many of his podcasts, many of his videos, and all of the, he's regularly interviewed on Russell Brand. So Alan says, I'm on day 5 of isolation with COVID. I'm sorry, let's send you some healing. We're going to do that in a minute. So yeah, it's fine to be frustrated with the situation, but shouting at the moon is nuts. That's a good. I'm just like, and Andrea says, I'm just like, do what you want, but leave me alone. Homeschooling has been a blessing, see? And I know that it has been a blessing for some of my clients who have realized that the school system has been challenging for their children. And, but so being at home has been a blessing for their children. But for the most part, it's like, can you have your cake and eat it too? Do you have to go from one extreme to another? Some of these parents are realizing that their children do quite well in some areas, such as the social aspect of the school system, but not in the academic, or very well in the academic, but not in the social. Maybe the schools are too big, or they're educating improperly, or the teachers are burnt out. I've got tons of clients who've quit their jobs as a teacher, and nurses and doctors. Honestly, I have these clients. I helped coach a client to quit her general practice. And this is what Dr. Gabor did. Dr. Gabor Mate was very much pro helping people on the streets that are addicted to not recreational drugs, but very extreme opiates, had a sympathy and an empathy for the damaged system that was trying to help damaged clients or damaged patients. And he knew another way. But you know what it did? It made him have to give up his license, because they said, if you keep doing this, you're going to lose your life. We're going to take your license away from you. So he kept his voice. He found his voice. And at the age of late 40s, early 50s, he's now around 70, in his 70s. In his late 40s, early 50s, he became the well-known Dr. Gabor that we know now because of his work on trauma and addiction. And that was fostered by finding his voice, by speaking his truth. And he could have easily crumbled due to a system that put very tall walls around him. But he came from an oppressed, communist-like country. And he was well aware that this did not have to be the way that he had to live, even though he was now in a freedom-orientated Canada, although I don't feel that way now. But it was at the time. So the theme today is finding your voice. And as I said to a client today, the universe doesn't care how loud you are. It just wants you to speak. You can write it. You can journal it. You can tell somebody. You can say it out loud. It doesn't care. You can stand on stage and preach to the choir. It doesn't care how you tell your story or your truth, but it wants you to do that. You can make comments in social media. You can delete it. You can add it. You can change it. You can edit it. It really doesn't matter because the universe is very happy that you're interacting with it and you're playing the game. Right? Now, Alan says, so happy that I left my corporate job just before COVID and started my business helping people, but published and marketing by publishing and getting published and marketing their work. Allison, that's amazing. And that's exactly because we have, you are, Andrea's on there. She started, she's putting it out there. Keep the momentum going. I don't care if you help 1 people or you help 100 people or 100 million people. We are all have a connection to our divine essence of why we are here. We're not here to homeschool our kids. We're not here to have a particular job. We're not here to have a house and a car and vacations and clothing and furniture. We are here for one particular mission. And somehow that includes you serving other people. And that serving of other people has been, let's say, aligned with you in childhood. So the most challenging, difficult childhood that you've experienced is more of a strong point of whom you're supposed to help. So if you have a childhood of alienation, you help those who also feel alienated. If you have a childhood of misunderstandings, then you help others that are misunderstood. If you had a difficult childhood in the educational system, then you will help those who possibly have difficulties in the educational system. Mental health, help those with mental health. And you can be, I have a client, I use this example all the time. I have a client who is in her late 50s. She has been a waitress for over 35 years. 35 years. 35 years in her 20s in this very small restaurant in New York, in a large part of the city where there's a lot of poor people. And she is a single mom of 3 children. This is a client of mine from years ago. And she loved her job. She barely made paycheck to paycheck. She was able to bring home from the food from the restaurant every single day. And she was a healer. And her job was the connections and the family and the help and the serving and the listening and the advice and the listening that she gave to her regular patrons that came into her restaurant. Did she own the restaurant? No, but it was her energy. It was her restaurant. We watch TV shows like this. We watch TV shows about this type of life. And we're entertained by it and we're awed by it. And we learn lessons from it. But if it happens in somebody's everyday real life, you'd think she's not successful. That's success. Living in an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 kids in the slums in New York, and she's a waitress in a restaurant, right? But that was who she was, and she served and loved and cared. So it doesn't matter what you do or who you are, as long as you advocate for how you want to serve others. And it said, do unto others as others would have done unto you. What do you want? That is what you give. So now I'm going to do this again. From a scale of 0 to 10, when you're in a 10 being the most difficult time to communicate, when you're in a situation where it's challenging or you're being challenged, how difficult is it for you to communicate? I used to be a 10, hands down, specifically when I was younger. Now, depending, where I teeter, I'll tell you where I falter, okay? I falter in 2 areas, okay? But mostly, I would say I am about an 8. I would say I'm about a 7 now, okay? And I'm definitely a 1 to 2, speak my mind in my career with my clients. Okay. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, nope, I would have been a 10 in my clients in my career, in my profession. On social media, I'm around an 8, a 7. I put it out there, but then I retract. I feel bad. I shouldn't have said that. It's not professional. What affects my professionalism, right? So I'm teetering on that one right now. And in my social life, I would have been around a 9, difficult, because I want everybody to like me. I'm a people pleaser. And now I'm around, I say a 5. But 5 means that I speak my truth, I advocate for it, but I won't argue with the person. I'll be like, that's yours, this is mine. Let's agree to disagree. That's where I am right now. Right? So, oh, thank you. Got 7, got 8, got 8. Okay, so let's do this one now. We're going to do this exercise now. And we're going to put one hand. My clients, you know, this is a regular exercise that I do with you. It's called Heart Math, which I'm certified in. And we're going to do some free readings. Tahara says she's mostly a 9. So 9, you don't speak your truth 9% of the time. Heart here, hand on heart here, okay? Hand on head here, all right? So we're going to do this hand on head, hand on heart, and we're going to breathe in for 5 seconds and breathe out for 5 seconds. In, out. And we're going to relax, as my shirt says, full of stars. I'm going to put both hands on the heart. Breathe in for 5 seconds. Breathe out for 5 seconds. Breathe in. 5 seconds. Breathe out. For 5 seconds. I want you to take one of your hands and put them on your stomach. Your solar plexus right above your belly. Breathe in. Make it a belly breath and breathe out 5 seconds. Relax your shoulders. Breathe in. And out 5 seconds. Now I want you to imagine something that brings you love and joy. I want you to imagine something that brings you love and joy. Love and joy. It could be your favorite person, an event, your favorite restaurant, your scrumptious food that you love that's comforting, brings you joy, your job, a dream, anything that brings you love and joy. How does that feel? Imagine that in your mind's eye, and now how does that feel? In your heart center, both your hands on your heart. Breathe in for 5 seconds. Out for 5 seconds. Keep that rhythmic breathing in, out. Now I want you to take that thought out of your mind. I don't want you thinking about it anymore, but I want you to keep the feeling in your heart. Keep that feeling in your heart. And imagine that heart is pouring out to everyone in the world, and it's coming right back at you, just as strong. That heartfelt joy, love is expanding as you breathe in for 5 seconds. And you breathe out for 5 seconds. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now I want you to imagine somebody. You can breathe back to normal again. I'm going to wrap you around with protective energy. And I now want you to imagine somebody that you know right now in your life that you've had arguments with. In fact, when you think about it right now, it's like, ugh, your husband, your children, spouse, coworker, wife, someone in your family, mom, dad, anybody. Now, what is it now from a 0 to 10 of you speaking your truth? Imagine they're right in front of you right now, in front of your face. Imagine what they're saying to you, and I want you to speak your truth. If there's no one around you, say it out loud. How's the anxiety now? And you're going to feel that anxiety in your solar plexus area. Okay. So how's that anxiety now? Is it a 7? Is it 8? Is it mostly a 9? And this is what I want you to practice. So now we're going to do some readings. And I want it to be around your voice. The message today, and I'm just going to give you an idea of where we are astrologically, is that we've got Venus in retrograde. Venus in retrograde, as well as Mercury has been in Capricorn. So Venus is about love. Mercury is about speaking your truth, speaking your mind. And it's been heavy. It's been heavy in the last month about plans, responsibilities, reliability, specifically if you're Earth or you're an air sign or sign of Cancer. Okay. But today, or yesterday, actually, it moved into Aquarius. So now in Aquarius, and then it's going to go retrograde on the 14th of January. And this is about speaking your truth on the level of humanity. If you're speaking your truth, does it serve the collective? Does it serve the unit? Does it serve the team? The team may be your family, your friends, the collective, social media, your coworkers. It may be just humanity in general, as I started this conversation with talking about children in the educational system and lockdown in Ontario, Canada. So these people that are arguing in social media about what's right or wrong around the educational system, they're doing the right thing, because I've told many of you that by 2025, our educational system is changing drastically. And this is the prerequisite to that change, that paradigm shift that starts in 2025. We want you frustrated. We want you arguing with each other. We want you to debate even better, right? Let's not be hurtful. Let's not be mean, but let's debate. Let's pull up our sleeves and let's get down and dirty and take a look at how is this serving humanity and what part do I have in that? It may be just how you directly work with your own child. As it moves into retrograde, we're going to be thinking of the bigger picture, the collective. We're in this together. How can we help and support each other? If you're in, you know what? I think, thank you. This is what I'm going to do. I was in a group earlier and the parents were arguing amongst each other. And a lot of them were saying, I'm not here to homeschool. This is affecting my mental health. I've got to go to work. I'm a single mom. I'm working 55 hours a day, And they all live in the same area, in the same city. This is a local group. So I'm just thinking right now, why don't, there's 63 comments on this person who's brave enough to ruffle people's feathers, right? Why don't you support each other? All of you that are saying, hey, this is great, I love it. Why don't you offer to bring a couple of kids into your home to school them while somebody else is going to work? A lot will argue that because of the pandemic and fears of health issues. However, our kids go to school every day with a bunch of people and come home. So this is what I mean by community. How are we serving community? How are we supporting each other? To me, what I'm doing right now is a community service, right? And then as we move into that, will our central nervous system start to gear up? Absolutely. Are we going to be frustrated, flustered? Are we going to be irritated with humanity and community and the lack of connection? Absolutely, especially when it goes retrograde. And it stays in retrograde until the 5th of February, and then fully returns from the shadow shortly after that, which would be the 24th of February. So this is a time also to take a look at your responsibilities. What is this, as Venus is in retrograde in Capricorn, it's about responsibilities and being reliable. We're going to speak our truth until about the 24th of January. We're going to hear a bunch of stuff we don't want to hear. And then we're going to create an alliance, but they're going to be in small miniature groups. So which one will you belong to? And how will you serve? And how will you speak your truth? Everyone is different. So as an example, Mercury represents communication. My Mercury is in Libra. So Mercury in Libra wants to always get along. We want balance. We want to see if this is, we don't want the scales tipped. We want things to stay level. We want everybody to get along, but it's also about fairness. So it's not going to overshadow what is fair. I'm not just going to get along with everybody or expect everybody to get along when there's clearly a lack of equality, right? So there's a fine balance between that. It's also Mercury, we have to look at this, is in my second house, first or second house. There's a debate there. So that's around the value systems and what I value, right? So I value fairness. Right? So let's see what other questions some of you have. Great. So Gurpreet, and then there's Delphine. Okay, this is great. So let me start from the top and try to get through as many as I can. Andrea, we did yours last time. And so I'm going to get to you last the best I can, but I'm going to talk to you about what your voice is. If you do have a specific question, I would love to hear my readings, please. Kashala, if I've said your name correctly. I am not just a fortune teller, okay? I'm not a fortune teller. What I do is I guide my clients through specific predicted time frames. So there's timing, there's dates, months, and there's beginning and an end. I know what it has to do with, but I help you to make the best choices in what you want to focus on. So, Kashala, I'm going to give you a few minutes just to give me a specific question. Okay. If not, I can look at where's your voice, how do you speak your voice, etc. So, but I will put down that you're 19, and don't just use numbers. Thank you everybody for using September 6th, because 906, I wouldn't know which way that goes, right? So thank you very much. So 19, so bear with me. AskHollyHall.com. I have a sale that actually ends at midnight tonight Eastern Standard Time. So you want to use Save 30. That gives you $30 off. So we got, okay, so we're going to put 2:45 a.m. That's great. Thank you very much for the time. Okay, so now we're going to take a look while this person is possibly giving me an exact question. We're going to go to May 4, 70 something. I am issues at work and looking for a job and have been applying. I would like to know if I have new job coming soon. Okay, DJ. So let's take a look at, well, that's DJ. Okay, so you're next, September 6th. Great. September 6th at 1:30 a.m. And we're going to look at career. Okay. So the first thing that I'm seeing, DJ, around your career, you know what you're really good at? You are a problem solver. You're excellent at problem solving and very, very fair. In the last 2 years, up until the beginning of 2020, that's when you had the most difficult within your work environment. But as of last May, you discovered what you want to do, and you want to be acknowledged for your problem solving skills. But what you're very good at as well is sales, but you're very good at educating. And so what I'm seeing now is that it's time for you, and there's a shyness about you. You're very reserved. It's not easy for you to shine your own light. And you've got some abandonment issues from childhood. A lot of this has to do with relationship, actually with a sibling as a child, but this also comes from past life. So there's this fear that if you shine the light on yourself and you go up to your boss and you say, I want a different position in this job because I'm really good at this, right? That you're going to be ostracized. You make up sort of stories in your head that you could lose your job if you speak your truth, speak your mind. You're very fair and extremely diplomatic, all right, when it comes to speaking your truth. So as of okay, so middle of March, so the second to third week into March, all the way up until the first week of April 2022 is where I see that you will have a sudden, unexpected, even I can't predict exactly what it is, opportunity. And this is in freedom. This is around freedom as well, too, for you to work more from home. There's this really strong home environment here. Or is this a family business? But it's asking you to think outside of the box and be different and be brave enough to be courageous. Say, you know what? I'm not doing this the normal way. I'm doing this my way, very different way than the way that you do that, especially specifically if it's around a family business or an expected career that mother educated, paid for your education for specifically. Okay. I know you're 1975. So does mom have a strong hold around this? Or does the family dynamic have a strong hold? So where I get this a lot is if you grew up and the family had expectations of your educational pursuits and with the expectation of a result in a specific career. This is something that you've been shedding for the last 3 years, that you no longer, but you lost who you were along that way. Well, I don't know what I want. I know I don't want this, but I don't know what I want. So this sudden, unexpected opportunity, and it may involve a change in your home as well. So it may involve a move. Now, because you're a planner and you're anticipate, because you're very good at problem solving, you're right now going to try to quantify what I'm talking about, but you won't be able to. That's what Uranus does. It totally throws a wrench into things. In this case, it's very favorable and it allows you more time, more freedom around your home environment. So hopefully that helps you and makes sense to you. Okay. Great. So that was September 6th. I'm going to go to May 4. AskHollyHall.com. There's a special. You can use the code save 30, and that will get you $30 off. If you want to buy a gift certificate for somebody, then you can use the code 30SAVE. So you just flip that around. Okay. So we're going to look at the birth time of 12:31 p.m. And I think your question. Let me take a look. Allison, my question is, what messages does my spirit guides have for me in terms of my marriage, my health, and my business? Whoa, that's a lot. Okay, let me see what spirit has to say first, and then I'll take a look at your chart. Your husband is having his own personal difficulties. It is with his own inner demons. This is creating a need for him to isolate himself, but he may be doing this in a social way. So it doesn't really look like isolation, but it is a form of escape, or let me say a form of distraction. That's a better word for it. That's over in around June of 2022. He really needs this time to, he's easily overwhelmed right now. So he does need this time to disengage. If you can allow him to disengage, I know it's hard for you, but he does need that. Otherwise, you're going to get reactivity from him constantly. You're going to get reaction, reaction, reaction without any forethought or contemplation on any situation, right? That's what's going on with him. He wants freedom separate from what he does in his career and just being a breadwinner. That's what I'm getting from spirit. I'd have to look up his chart as well. And from you, because you're a reactive person, which means it can come across that there's an urgency when you communicate with, let's look at your partner. When you communicate with your partner, they'll feel like it's a sense of urgency. It's because you can think right on the spot, right? You can turn on a dime immediately, and not everybody else can do that. And so he's having challenges around that. For you, career-wise, the exact same dates that I just gave the person before is the exact same dates for you. All right. So that was partway through April into the first week of May. And that's when there's going to be some unexpected. In this case, though, this is with a completely different sign. And this is definitely in your career, but it is leaning towards you needing to have more of a leadership role in career where you are in control. I think you're reluctant. You're reluctant because the title doesn't have a different pay scale, a different wage. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised in April that it will give you enough freedom and a bit of, somehow it affects, it's not like direct income. It's not like directly handed to you. I do see that there's a possibility of a raise in the income, but the freedom and the ability to not be financially indebted to a certain degree is actually a strange way of creating some financial freedom. All right. And also there's a boss right now with you, or somebody that seems to be the boss, tries to be bossy. That person is going to not be in the picture after April, which is going to be a relief to you as well. Right? You're extremely independent. But in this lifetime, you are here and you speak your truth immediately, right? But you may regret after, as you articulate things and sometimes criticize yourself of your need to respond immediately. However, in this lifetime, you're here to learn patience. So now we're going to Gurpreet, and thank you for this reminder to serve one another. I need to hear that, especially right now. Thank you, Gurpreet. And so we've already done, did we do Gurpreet for May? As I'm moving provinces, I'm worried about its impact on my family dynamic and marriage. I'm also worried if it's the right financial decision for us. Okay, so May 14. askhollyhall.com is where you can get, I think I'm booked up, pretty much booked up for January 2002. Okay, so let me see if you gave me your time. May 14th, 3:45. So my first thing that I'm getting for you is that this move is the best move. You've been contemplating this move long before the pandemic came. And it's been something that's happened in the last 6 months has impacted your family, and therefore it had you make that final decision, finally. And the other thing that's advantageous as well, sorry, I'm just going to open up. Yeah, so you're going through a cycle that's been very, very difficult for the last 2.5 years. Off and on depression, a lot of difficulties with mom and sisters in the family or sisters-in-laws, a lot of issues with women in general, specifically a daughter as well, if you have a daughter or one of your children. And that cycle is over in mid-February. All right. So hopefully, is there any way that you can not make this move until after mid-February? There is a state of confusion until then. Shortly after that, this is the best financial move that you have ever made. I mean, there's a home, there's a lifestyle, there's a culture, there's family, there's connection. I know you're afraid of some of those connections, and some of those might be women that you're going back to, and some that you're leaving. But this is a necessary evil. And I think you've said those words yourself. This is a necessary evil. I need to do this. And you've got a very strong instinct. You know this is the right thing for you. You know this is the right thing for your family. You're in a sort of warrior stage right now where you're leading this whole entourage of your family, kind of kicking and screaming, right? The home environment, but this is beneficial for you financially. This is beneficial for you in earning the money that you'll be able to earn, and the expenses that are, it's less expensive, whatever you're doing, wherever you're moving. Okay. So yes. And this is a dream. This is a dream come true. You're doing the right thing. You're not being selfish. Time with Holly is so worthwhile and insightful. Thanks, Allison. I am issued at work and looking for a job. Okay, great. My question is, what messages Spirit had to guide me? Okay, so there. As for, okay, yeah. Let me move on. I want to get through as many as I can. Okay, where is I'm trying to buy a new house. Not sure if it was a good time, if this is a good time for that. So that's Kushala. So Kushala, okay, so he answered that. So let me go back to Kushala's, which was December. Okay, askhollyhall.com. And Kushala is 12/31/80. Bear with me. Bear with me. I have to do some, if you guys could see what I have to do, I think one of my next sessions. So every Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, come here and I'm going to be doing some live readings. Okay. I just have to check one more thing. Great. Okay. Okay, great. So is this the right time to venture into some real estate? Yeah. Okay, so this is a better time than ever. The last 2 years was definitely very bad timing. But when it comes to finding out, what do I love? Is this the job that I love? Is this the house that I love? Is this my forever home, my forever place, my forever area? I want to make sure that I've got your question correctly. Trying to buy a new house. The perfect timing for that is not quite yet. Okay. You've discovered the area. The amount that you want to spend on that is a little elevated right now. And I would like you to wait. If you can wait, you're not going to be happy with this because it's not that soon. If you're going to buy now, it will be temporary. If you can wait until if you can wait until 2023 financially, that's what it's telling me. If you can wait until the beginning of 2023, February of 2023. So no, sorry, even later, mid-March of 2023. So if you can wait a year and 4 months from now, it is much more optimum for you. In fact, it goes along with a lifestyle change that's happening at that time. Now, I know you're frustrated with the people that you're with right now, and that's why you want to get out of Dodge, but you don't want to go for the reason of escaping one place to get to another. It can't be because of frustration, irritability. This is about what do you love, who do you love, and speaking your truth, as we talked about at the beginning. Moving isn't going to change any of that. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So Jenna or Yana is asking early morning, December 4th. She wants to know about her healing business. And, you know, I've purchased some of Yana's, or Yana gifted me with some of her, and made me think, it's beautiful what she makes, healing products. And it made me think, why don't I, on my new website, promote my clients that are in the healing business, and you that I would promote, and you could go there and find people in our tribe. We can all connect that way and help and serve and support each other, just like I mentioned earlier. So Jana, I want to thank you for that. I'm going to be doing that. I'm so excited about it with my next website, which I'll get done soon, I hope. Okay, so she said December 4th. All right. So this too is a challenge around, you might want to listen to this at the beginning. You're at the very end of a cycle, and that's about, how am I going to package myself? And how am I going to package myself instead of scattering, which is what you did 2 years prior to that, is I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I do this, I do that, it does everything, right? So instead of creating yourself as a one-stop shop for every single need, it's asking you to uniquely define your brand. And in this cycle that's been frustrating for you, right? Because you feel like you're constantly over communicating everything that your brand does, the healing products that you create. And so it's asking you, very successful, by the way, in 2023, March of 2023, very successful moving forward. In fact, I see you at local stores, local, but you're reluctant to do that right now, to put yourself into the storefront or to bring your product to the local stores. So I see that happening for you. This is dream come true. And this is going to begin now. It's beginning now as we speak. It started last January. That was your intention, but you came up against a few roadblocks and it stagnated you and had you scattered again. So after mid-February, that anxiety, that over speaking your truth, I'm all about everything and everything is all about my product. You're going to feel calm around that after mid-February. But I will tell you, looking at your chart, what you're really good at is you're really good at working with people who've got specifically around mental health issues, specifically around people who also have anxiety because they can't settle, they can't focus, a lot around clarity and focus, but you're a problem solver as well. But instead, I advise you to turn the tables. And honestly, success is huge by March of 2023. That doesn't mean you have to wait a year and 14 months. Okay. I want you to start. A lot of the anxiety is going to lift mid-February. So it's about redesigning yourself as something very, very different. What I love about your product is the branding part of it is the name. So even though the name is a reflection of where you used to live, which is literally called First Line, now with all of the pandemic and everything, first line responders, first line workers, first line caregivers, first line, we work at a restaurant, first line people that are essential workers and healers. This is something that is a really cool name now, right? And even bring it down to the number 1 ST line. And this is the first line of defense for everything. What is your problem? I don't have to tell you. You don't have to tell them how it's going to solve that problem. You just say, this is the product that will help with your anxiety. This is a product that will help with your sleep issue. Then let them explain to you or ask you more questions rather than giving all of the answers all at once. But the brand, and that's the brand. The brand is that these types, right? Because you've been caught up in the educating piece of it. And this is the future. Your type of income, your type of serving community is the future. And you're going to see success in that time frame that I mentioned in April, as well as an opportunity will come to you in within a week. Within a week. So hopefully, maybe what I'm saying now is kind of stirring up that pot. What is that unique version of who you are? I don't want your product or your branding to look like everybody else's. It's got to be unique. It's got to be on fire. It's got to be intense. It's got to be passionate, right? The name, the colors, everything. It's got to be all about that. Okay. Hopefully that's helped you out, my friend. I'm healing my body from disease who is talking to me. I think that I understand what my body is telling to me. So my question will be to heal my body March 4th. Okay, Tahari, I am. We are getting pushed by different issues and preventing from buying it. Okay, I'm trying. Okay, so you're getting pushed in different, because it's not time for you to buy yet. So, and DJ says it makes sense. what's going on. So now we're going to go to Tahari, and we've got March 4th. AskHollyHall.com is where you go to have a session with me. AskHollyHall.com. Ask Holly Hall everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. 2:15 a.m. Okay, so let's take a look at the Bate and what's happening there for you. I'm also going to do a body scan, which I don't need a reading to do this. So I'm going to start now with the body scan, starting at the top of your head. Get stopped in the nose area. That could also mean pituitary gland, sinuses. Getting here, which is the thyroid. Could be about speaking here, could be third chakra. Getting the rib cage, so breathing. Small intestines. Bowels. So is there an IBS issue? Looking at regulatory of the immunity, autoimmune disorder. So now I'm going to look at the birth date, the chart, which is, I'm going to give, so hey, number 1, which you've been over since the beginning of your healing, will be complete in April as well. You really have to practice. You're an extreme empath. You're an artist. You're a creator. You're a healer. You take on the energy of others, the suffering of others. There's a feeling of, and that really affects your central nervous system. And this is creating an imbalance in everything that has to do with it, inflammatory as well. So your autoimmune may be attached to inflammation. And this is affecting your water system within you. The water system is everywhere. We have liquid around our lungs. We have liquid, and which is actually right about here, the pituitary area underneath our brain. I'm not a medical doctor, don't know all of the terminologies. We have liquid in all of our joints. We have liquid everywhere besides our blood, right? We have a water base everywhere. We want a certain amount of moisture barrier in our skin, and etc. So in your case, you need a little bit more water than the average bear. And you've also got to do something that helps you. Baths are better than showers for you, specifically baths like Epsom salts that have a lot of the magnesium in them, and lavender, as Yana might even be able to put a bunch of advice in there for you, is your relaxation. You've got to unplug every single night, whether it's a candle or a glass of wine or a cup of tea, or you've got to have that alone time, because you've got to get rid of all of the stuff, other people's stuff, energy that absorbs you. If you're in the healing business, which would be very beneficial to you, it does have to be something that you love to do. So if you work in the medical industry, but it's hard for you, it's difficult, you don't love it, you don't resonate with it, which you've discovered in the last 3 years, then that has to change. And that is going to change. You have one more last opportunity for that to change for you in April. There will be an opportunity for you. Are you going to take the opportunity this time? With the central nervous system, it also makes for real sensitivities close to the skin. So all of the nerve endings, making difficulty there as well. That is the healing you're going to get is also in April. Finding your voice. Looking at inflammation. A regular practitioner isn't going to find that issues with inflammation. There are things like dairy, gluten, a lot of products And I think you're really well versed in that. And also the monkey mind that you've got, which creates a lot of anxiety as well. If you're in Canada, there's a product called Focus Plus, which is from BC, Canada, under Pure Encapsulated. You can look that up on Amazon or in pureencapsulated.ca and look at the ingredients and see if you can find something that's very similar in those ingredients. And that helps the mind focus. It literally stops the mind from bouncing around from one to another. There's also a mild form of PTSD that you have from people outside of your family dwelling, outside of your home, outside of your home. I don't know why that is. Something that happened maybe in a school situation or a community situation. Definitely a community situation that created a lot of trauma from you. I keep getting commune or community as a child, and that is healing itself now as well. Now it's your turn to help others in the same area. You need a lot of isolation, not too much peopling. You're Uranian, and Uranians, we can't do too many people. The energy is too high. It's too different. It's our frequencies aren't the same. And that's why it's very uncomfortable. So hopefully that helps guide you as well. Yana says, wow, absolutely. Thank you. Oh my God. Yes, I get claps. Thank you. Yes, I know so many things about lots of issues. Wow, connected all together. Okay, thanks, Holly. Thank you, Holly. You always help me put my mind at ease. Thanks, Gurpreet. Gotta hop off. My littlest is FaceTiming me. I'm still isolated in the house. Goodness, Holly, it totally reinforces my business plans to scale my business in March, April. Great. Okay. Bought mine yesterday. So, Andrea, that's great. And we'll get to you. And absolutely. Thanks, dear. Okay, Tahara, love some details on that if you can share. I understand privacy, but thank you for that feedback. So yes, Santa, my financial situation get improved? Will there be any change of my business or job? So November, and this will be the last one. I'll do Andrea, but Andrea, I want to do a message from Source for you. All right. And the message from Source for Andrea, this has something to do with your husband as well. And there is a collaboration that can happen between you and your husband and his place of business that is related to your ability to promote your business. I think you're feeling like you don't want to lean on him or you want to be independent of him. But Source is saying that's a mistake. There is a connection. And I got 1029. Will my financial? So Yasanta, can you tell me if that's 1029 a.m. or p.m.? I'm going to assume it's a.m. until I hear otherwise. And I won't focus too much on the time. Okay. But look at your financial situation. I believe, Andrea, that you already have this idea and you haven't actualized it yet by communicating with your hubby about this. Okay, this collaboration. Now, I know that he owns a vegan restaurant. There's definitely vegan people that are vegan are very conscious of their health and the choices that they make for all different reasons. So this may be what is the connection. So now, and if you can like this, that would be awesome. And if you would like to subscribe, you will get to my channel, you will get a notification whenever I am on live, which will be Tuesday at 5, live at 5, but that's Eastern Standard Time. So yes, now let's take a look at, okay, so if that is the morning, you're definitely been going through you've been going through such a difficult time, specifically around loved ones, specifically around females, women. You've been speaking your truth, and it has not been coming across very well to some people. There's been a lot of arguments, and you're a truth seeker, and you're a researcher, and you dig deep into what is the truth. And you talk about things that people don't want to talk about, that ruffles people's feathers, and they don't want to be vulnerable or violated. And this is not an intention, and it's not a good or bad or right or wrong. A lot of people would like to remain, let's say, not knowing things is bliss. There's another saying for that, but that innocence is bliss, right? And a lot of people like to remain and don't want to explore, like you do, the depths of the truth of what underlies a lot of issues. So you can see right through people, things that people don't see themselves. Speaking this truth, you've realized in the last 2.5 years what is to be said and what isn't to be said, when you're to speak and when you're not to speak. And I don't mean that in a dogmatic way, right? As if you don't speak now, not in this way. It's self-governed, right? It's not people shutting you up. It's completely self and autonomous and self-governed. So that has created some depression and feeling scattered and unfocused in the last 2.5 years. That ends in 4 weeks. 5 weeks from now, mid-February, that cycle ends. And all of a sudden, you're going to feel this freedom like you've never had before, and a focus you've never experienced before. And then the dream begins, what you've always wanted to do. That starts, and there might be some travel involved in this as well. Now, that doesn't start until mid-May. So mid-May into June and July, you will have a sudden opportunity to do what you've always wanted to do and what you've always dreamed of doing, specifically around working with a community of people. 10:29 a.m. Okay. So that's when your financial situation is going to improve. And that's when the beginning of your career changes. Okay. Now you can be reluctant to change because you fear a lot of fears, and you've been dissolving those fears in the last 2.5 years. And so there'll be a very sudden opportunity for you coming up. If that is bypassed for some reason, it's not the end, because you have another one also into that goes all the way into May, June, July, August. Whew, that's a long one. So that's the building up of your business, extremely successful. You work really well also with those that have any type of abuse with substance, mental health issues, medical industry. But most of your work is very future. It's like what's new, up and coming. You're very much a visionary, and it may involve travel, which is something that you've always wanted to do, but will not be able to incorporate into that until starting in March. And that's when your financial situation turns around, only if you're passionate about it. If you're only passionate about making the dough, then it might take you a while, because what you've been discovering is what you don't like in the last 2 years. So now it's about, what do I like? And how can you, and you can only work with people who are willing to be vulnerable. You can't crack open those who aren't ready to be cracked open. That's a lesson you've learned as well, right? So hopefully that rings true for you as well. I would like some feedback. And Andrea, I hope the message that I gave you rings true for you as well. So thank you very much. Again, everyone, namaste. I'm going to sign off now. AskHollyHall.com is where you can have a session with me. Like and subscribe.